Hey everybody, welcome to our philosophy group meeting, and we're reading D.D. Palmer's 1914 book, The Chiropractor. We're on page 14, and the science, chiropractic is science and art and the philosophy thereof. We're at the bottom of page 14. I was going to skip a little bit, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this to the end, okay? We have a page, basically 2 pages to read, and then we'll discuss it. All right? Does that sound good for everybody? The science of chiropractic and that of machinery are not resemblance whatever in their motive force. That being a fact, why try to illustrate either one by the principles belonging to the other? Just as well try to explain the science of grammar by that of astronomy, geography by mathematics, chemistry by agriculture, or that of music by navigation. Man is not a machine. And he said that multiple times in 1910 as well. The science of chiropractic is in no way related to the science of machinery. Its phenomena are dependent upon vital forces, not that of dynamics. The structure of the body is defined under that of anatomy, not mediography, a treatise on metals. Bodily function depends on vital force, not dynamics. The existence of metals, whether in the form of machinery or that, and let me just make you guys, Brian, can I make you guys the admins again? If someone comes in, and let me just make co-host, okay? If you see someone pop in, there we go. The existence of metals. Vital philosophy and mechanical philosophy are not correlated. They are radically and entirely different. The laws which govern the existence of animated beings and that of animated objects differ. Chiropractic science is being enlarged and urged on to a higher development by the demands of the art of vertebral adjusting. Why not make use of the knowledge which composes the science? In chiropractic, you should discriminate between science and art. Science depends on principles, and art depends upon practice. The theories of chiropractic become demonstrated fact, the practices and art. Biology and chiropractic include vital phenomena in the contradiction of physical force, facts. Those functions, energies, and acts that depend upon life as manifested by contrast to those which exist without intelligence. A prominent writer aims to make a record in chiropractic by affirming that he is the author, formulator, and constructor of the science of chiropractic, that the essence, the essential principles is love, patience, perseverance, truth, and equality. And these principles constitute its highest standard, wonderful beauty and simplicity. Love, patience, persistence, truth, and equality as principles belong to the Sunday school or the lodge room of some benevolent organization. As 5 principles, they are not found among the 500, which the founder of chiropractic uses to compose its science. I want to revisit that 500.
Yeah.
Why not learn chiropractic as a science? Why not be specific in adjusting? Why not learn the specific cause of typhoid fever? Acquire the knowledge of why and how and where adjust for it. Why not comprehend the how and why organs and parts of the body are affected by displaced vertebra? Why not know the hemiplasia because of the displacement of the 6th dorsal vertebra? That one half of the body may be affected by the fibers of that nerve. Why not become acquainted with the proper method of adjusting that vertebra? Why not learn of the two ganglionic chains of the sympathetic nervous system which reach from the occiput to the coccyx? Its plexus of nerves extended to the cranium, the fiber of which with the cranial nerves, and that these vertebral cords are disturbing agencies of organic life, reaching to all the viscera. Why not learn the neuroskeleton? It's a protector of the central nerve system, and that they are portions thereof is displaced. If displaced, it is a disturber of the vibration, heat, and other functions. Why not learn to use the vertebral process as levers to replace luxated vertebra? Science is knowledge, ascertained fact, accumulated, systematized information regarding causes and principles. Why not correlate and reduce to a system these principles? Why not make them principle? Why not learn to reason from cause to effect? Why not become acquainted with physiological and pathological processes in health and disease? Why not obtain knowledge regarding pariah, alveolosis? Why not ascertain the fact that a discharge of pus from a margin of the gums, granulated eyelids, berry eyes, kidney afflictions, diseases of the sebaceous glands, and some headaches become because of a KP luxation, which I'm not sure what that is. That two or more of these diseases may be associated, may result from overtension of the fibers of one nerve which ramify the portions affected. Why not be able to make the distinction between the diseased condition arising from the tight, rigid, strained nerves of the third cervical and 12th dorsal? Why not remain satisfied with a meager knowledge of science, art, and philosophy of chiropractic? Why not advance onward and upward toward perfection? Why not on the lower round? Why remain on the lower rounds? And why not exert yourself and become eminent in your life and work instead of kicking down the ladder upon which others are climbing? I think that's all that stuff is motivation from DD. And I just felt that he's giving it to us with power, really, of just standing up and knowing who we are. Anybody have any input on all that? I know it was a lot. Nobody. Well, there was a lot going on there. I know there was. And it was, in the beginning, the first thing I thought of, because I was going to skip to this area, there's a lot of people that get on stage and talking about love. You got to love your people. And that's an easy thing to talk about, really. And love is important, but does it elevate you as yourself in chiropractic and service? Loving our people, it's important. But what he's talking about is getting yourself together, the religion of chiropractic being service. So that's where I get out of there, where he is trying to pump us up really as chiropractors and having confidence in ourselves. Anybody else?
I think he also separates what he's calling, and it was from earlier in the same article, actually, I think, but he talks about the science facts and chiropractic facts, and when he's talking about facts in this section, he's talking about continuing the study based on what our knowledge is and extending our knowledge of how the body works vitalistically, separate from the mechanistic means that are applied by other science. And so here when he talks about science and facts in this section, he's talking about our science and not necessarily the mechanics that are being used in medicine specifically.
Yep, I like that. Anybody else?
What are the 500 principles?
Have you ever read 1910? Have you looked through it ever? The Chiropractor's Adjuster?
I don't. That's one I don't have.
He has a list of conditions and where to look for the subluxation. It's very interesting, actually. do not have them memorized, but that's the 500 I'm pretty sure he's talking about.
I'll have to go look that up. I think I just recently found access to that online. So,
anybody else have any insights? Cyril, you look like you're on the edge of your seat to say something. Well, one of the other insights, really, I get into that is, like one of our teachers, my main mentor, Pasquale Sarasoli, he taught neurology at Columbia. Wasn't it Columbia, Brian? Right? And, knowing your neurology, knowing what chiropractic is and where we're affecting things, and having a very good understanding of, function and structure, and how our nerve system, how our visceral system connects to it. I think that's very important for us. That, I look at it as the science, all the science out there and how it relates to chiropractic. The current science of the synapse. I don't have to do the research on the synapse and open all the neurology and buy an electron microscope. It's already done for me. And he used a lot of current science and the things that he was working on as he was developing. And he was probably the most well-read person in health and about the vertebra. And, in his books in 1910, he went into depth and much farther than probably most of the medical professions in his research. He didn't just randomly come with chiropractic. He did a lot of research scientifically and in the medical journals themselves. So anybody else? Anybody have any input?
I had a long time ago, and I don't remember where I got the data from it, that he had what he called his traveling library. He had a collection of medical books that he had with him all the time on his travels, that he was always reading, keeping up on all that medical knowledge as it was at that time. And we certainly understand that some of the things he may say, we may have found more data recently about things that have changed as science has found more things. Gosh, when I was in school, glial cells were just called glue cells, and they didn't do anything but stick things together. But and there was no innervation of the discs either when I was in school. We know that that's all changed.
Well, and his collection,
the facts have changed.
That's true. We have, the technology has been able to look at things in a deeper understanding of things. Like I said, like an electron microscope. We know we actually have CSF all the way down to the end of our nerve endings. It doesn't just circulate through our vertebral column. And when we having a good working knowledge of how this body works, and I think that's what he's really impressing upon us as the chiropractors, and not just getting hippy dippy about things. And it's love, and we got to love people. I love my people. I come to the table with love, and sometimes love is a left hook, but the really and being a knowledgeable chiropractor isn't necessarily being the diagnoser of disease, but really the diagnoser of vertebral subluxation, or of understanding how the vertebra function. And the more we look at how the tensegrity models and of nerve tension, all that really goes back right to Didi, of like a violin or a guitar string under more tension is much more of a concept than subluxation of a bone on nerve, which was more of BJ. And Didi talking about nerve tension and flexibility or lack of, or having too much laxicity. And now medical science, or science of an anatomical science, is really proving Didi. And like BJ said, Brian Corrigan says that Didi was far ahead of his time. And now the stuff that Didi was talking about, they're really starting to prove more in common science. It's very interesting stuff. I can move on. Does anybody have any other input?
We shouldn't miss the fact that he also talks about in here, not just that physiological, obvious stuff like that, but he even mentions, this it's a that subluxation is a disturber of vibration and heat and other functions. So that
Yeah.
it's being aware that there's something even more going on than we may be able to be consciously aware of.
That's exactly, that's awesome. You said that it's about our consciousness. We don't have to be consciously aware to adjust a subluxation. I don't have to be consciously knowing that you have tuberculosis, but I can adjust your vertebra. Your body's going to heal it or do what it needs to do without me doing anything else. It's up to your spirit to do that.
Yeah,
I'm seeing we got Suzette and Mark Johnson here. I'm glad to see you guys. Awesome. We've got a good crew here tonight.
Yeah,
and does anybody have anything else? Any other input?
Well, along those lines of what you just said, how many times have any of us adjusted somebody and then they tell you something a week later that about, oh, I forgot to tell you when I came in that I had, Shichikamushi fever or something, something just, they never told you that they had, anything, we've all had lots of patients that have done that for us. I'm sure it's, just like we need to tell them we're not going to cure anything. And also, they're going to come in and say, I didn't tell you. So you didn't adjust for that. It went away because the body was able to change it.
You healed yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I helped it along. We moved the vertebra. God does the healing. Your body does the healing. Anybody have anything else? All right. I'm going to move on to the next segment, okay? Everybody good with that? Okay. Nerve vibration is this next segment. We're on page 17, 1914. The following is okay. He does a lot of a 17-page article in the California Eclectic Journal by E.P. Bailey of Los Angeles, California. I don't want to read that whole 17 pages. I'm going to look at this real quick. Because what he does, and he does this all through 1910, is he has somebody else's article, and then he tears them a new one, basically, and says, this is where he's wrong or she is wrong through the whole article. All right, he doesn't do that whole 17 pages. He says, in part, luckily, indeed, shall we be if ever succeeded in throwing a gleam of light upon the modus operandi with which sense impressions are communicated to the intelligent and transferred into thought or consciousness. The marvel does not exist in our having eyes and ears, but in our being able to see and hear. That's good. Explain this, and perhaps you explain everything else that the hitherto puzzled or benighted understanding. And yet the whole mystery may admit of an explanation so simple that when discovered, it will occasion universal surprise why nobody thought of it before. Then the title of this, nerve vibration. Nerve vibration is associated with consciousness. Without it, there would be no sensational intelligence, no activity which we recognize as life. The phenomena of sound is produced by vibration of the atmosphere. The vibration impinged upon the tympanum and continue inward over the acoustic or auditory nerve. The tension of the tympanic membrane is not fixed as are stationary membranes. It is well adapted for the reception of one vibration as another. In the absence of vibration, a condition of relaxation exists. Our knowledge of unlimited variations of sound is recognized by the infinite diversity of nerve vibration. Consciousness is determined by and must accord with acoustic vibration. Thought transference by speech is accomplished by and through the medium of atmospheric vibration. We recognize the volume and quantity of vibration focused by the external ear and conducted to the acoustic nerve. The principle involved in the telephone and the ear are very similar. The phenomena of each are controlled by the same law. We recognize individual voices because of the difference in the vibratory movements. This is true whether conducted by the telephone wire or the atmosphere. We recognize the faces of individuals because of each dissimilarity. Thus, it is with voices. I don't think I got that right, but we'll figure it out. Faces and voices may be so distorted as to be unrecognizable. The combining of many voices or that of many musical instruments are blended into one vibration. Each instrument or any combination of instruments are presented and recognized by its peculiar vibration. The molecules of the atmosphere and those of the wire of the telephone transmit vibratory movements. The diaphragm and the wire of the telephone perform the same office does of the tympanum and the auditory nerve. I'm going to move on a little bit because he talks about popping engines. I have just said that there are two separate and distinct different movements of the atoms or molecules of substance. The movement of one atom against the other or the others for its touch. All those which surround it creates heat. The movement of a great number of those body atoms create within us consciousness. Gould's dictionary says temperature, the degrees of intensity of the heat or molecular vibration. He's getting a little bit into heat. I thought we would have a little better discussion on the last part. So that's up to you guys. We can move on a little bit. But how do you feel about what we've read? I'm going to go back a little bit. And what we talk about really is, this is the beginning of this. We're talking about the religion of chiropractic and where we are in the service of humanity as chiropractors. And not that it is a religion, but acting as if giving it the stature of a religion, as we honor something so much so that just as we would go into a church. So what we're really talking about is how we care for people. Fernando, good to see you. And as we go through this, what we're talking about is getting more specific. And what I would really like to do is, once we get into this, I want to move through it where we're not reading every single bit of this because he's repetitive, but I'm going to skip a little bit, okay, till we really talk about tone. And he doesn't really talk much about tone in this one. And what we can do is discuss where you feel we are. Anybody have any input?
Yeah, he talked about this body is not a machine. And in school and in textbooks, we learn about the nerve system and we learn about the digestive system as if they are apart from one another. When, like a machine, you've got the starter and you got the alternator. But in the body, you can't really separate the nerve system from the breathing. The lungs are in front of the spine, and it's all interdependent. There is no separate peripheral nervous system, central nervous system. But in order to study it, and also science itself has been very useful by splitting it up and making things, and but this is not the reality. It's useful, but there's something else going on which is almost, we can't even define it. And I think that calling the body not a machine, that's what he's talking about, is the unity and the interdependence of the whole body is working as one interdependent thing. That's it.
Yeah, that's good insight. Yeah. Anybody else or have any questions for Stephen? You know, it's easier to think about things as, you know, pieces and parts since the Industrial Revolution, right? We industrialized everything, and it's easier to think about, oh, you know, my back hurts, but it doesn't mean the rest of my body is affected. Or, you know, we talked about many times on this, where do the nerves end? But really, I feel the organs are the extension of the nerves. It's all one. And it's easier to put things in pieces when we think about the body. But, you know, each one is recognized as the whole. Anybody else? Anybody want any clarity on anything else we've talked about? So we have a choice. So we're reading this, we're in 1914. We could just read the book like we did in volume 33, which we did. But now we've gotten through this section, which is the most important section, I think, in chiropractic to truly understand. And Fernando, if you want to, we could talk about it. We also have the videos. Since this is your first time on, okay, we record these and post them. And many of them we've put with Spanish subtitles and Portuguese subtitles. So what I was thinking of doing is going to Stevenson's and start studying the normal and complete cycle of Stevenson's, which is a lot of fun, actually. There's a lot of interesting stuff. Fun for chiropractors. This is what I love to do. And also into the 33 principles as well. Because right now, from this point on, he gets a little bit drier, I have to say. And we're not getting into the deeper philosophy in the very beginning. The next chapter after this is inflammation. So I'm not really thrilled about that. I don't really feel like reading that whole thing right now. But, you know, we can do this as a team and come up with our next step, or we can jump into 1910, which I'm outlining right now.
You know, in Stevenson, the diagram of the tree universal, it has the sun reflecting off a tree, and then it shows the retina, and then it shows the afferent nerve, and then it goes into the steps of ideation.
Yeah.
All the way to universal intelligence. I would like to discuss that because I can't even comprehend it, but I love it.
So you're talking about getting into Stevenson's and getting into the philosophy there. Is that what you're talking about?
Especially that one page of that diagram.
Okay. That's where we can get in a little more depth. Oh, we got some adjusting going on there. Look at those guys. That's awesome. So, you know, and they're Florida too. So they're down the street. So, you know, I think that's a good step for us. And it gives us a little roadmap. Stephen and I, you can give me some insight of where that is. I just flipped through. I can't find it immediately. Okay. Anybody have any problems with that? Or you think that's a good idea? Or you have any other suggestions? I'm open to everything. So this is a silent majority saying, no, I don't mind, Haig. Let's just do that. So, okay. But remember, this is discussion, guys. It's not just for me talking and reading. The more input we have, your ideas, your thoughts, the more fun it is, okay? So, and I like you to participate because I can talk all day long. I enjoy that. But that's no fun, all right? Anybody have any more insights for tonight?
I would like to say thank you for the invitation, and then say hello to everyone. I'm from Mexico, and I don't know uh, any of you, but I feel very proud that these meetings that Dr. Hagen has started, because philosophy needs to become stronger in this part. You know, we know that science is very important, but chiropractic is about the three pillars. So we need to have science, art, and philosophy. And if we don't have any of one, I think the practice is not complete.
Thank you, Fernando. That is absolutely awesome. Fernando, were you the one that sent me the message a few minutes ago? You sent me your Univet?
Yeah, I was telling you that it was a sorrow that you didn't come to the big idea, and that's because I don't know you in person yet. I know that there are not the circumstances, but I expect to meet you one day. And my message was because the Dr. Eduardo Montaño presented a poem of B.J. Palmero about being a chiropractor with principles.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for the poem on internet and I can't find it.
There are a lot of good things like that. I'll help you find it. Are you on the iChiro Green Book group, Mexico? Yes. You are there. Yes, so you get my posts from there, right? Okay, good. We can communicate. We'll contact. We'll talk after this, or whatever you need, I'll help you, okay? We'll work on that. I'm glad you're joining us. You understand how we're going now? You can understand English fairly well?
Yes, I can.
You're doing great. Anybody else? Hi, Marina.
Hi. I don't know if it's the time, but to talk a little more about the integrity and that the bone is out of the position. Because Minardi talks a lot about it's the subluxation is not just the bone that is all out of order, and how the chemistry can subluxate the vertebra. So I would like to talk more about it too.
So in a chemical stress creating subluxation.
Yes. And moving the bone.
You know, that, anybody have any insights for her?
Well, they talk about three causes of subluxation. You talk about physical, chemical, and emotional, or auto. I'm not getting the word I want there, but they talk about. But so physical, we now understand that maybe 10 or 15% subluxation. So I was in a car accident, fell down a flight of stairs, something like that. Today I turned my ankle, so I sprained my ankle. So there's probably some osseous misalignment in my ankle a little bit that I have to get to my chiropractor and see if he can take a look at that, because he does some extremity work as well. But there's also chemical, and so now we understand that stress causes cortisol, which HPA complex, and then that causes other dysfunction down the line, especially over the long term. And that's what so we have chemical changes, but then you have the physical, chemical, and mental. So then you have mental. What is the stress caused by? The chemical response in that aspect may be, poison is a chemical aspect, but cortisol may be a reaction to the mental stress that you're under, the fear in this present time that we're in, especially with the COVID or the elections going on in the United States, things like that. the fear that's been generated in people creates a high level of stress, which affects things. So those all create subluxations that may or may not manifest as a demonstrably osseous misalignment, but nonetheless causes changes in the nerve system that by putting in small amounts of force allow the body to say, oh, wait, I can make a change here. And that's what we need to find. We use the levers or the bones as an entry point, but is it really the misalignment that's the problem? It may be a manifestation and an access point. It's the way we get in to help address the issues that are there. And some people never figure that part out.
Anybody else?
I'll say something. I always ask myself, why did chiropractic come here? And for me, it's for our spiritual progression, but our physical bodies have to be in good shape. And I know you hear a lot of us talk about a guy named Pasquale Sarasoli. He was a chiropractor. He was born in 1911. And when he was 3 years old, he got vaccinated, was very ill, almost died. And he was sickly his whole childhood. And a chiropractor helped him. So he became a chiropractor himself in 1943, and a lot of us met him. Now, he had me read these books. If I'm talking what Marina, you were saying, there's a guy named Béchamp. He's a French dude. There's a book called Pasteur or Béchamp. It's by E.D. Hume, H-U-M-E. It's a woman, Ethel Douglas Hume. Then he had me get into learning about this guy named Speransky, A.D. Speransky. He was a Russian guy, and he put a book out in 1943. And I read that. Then he had me read a book by his professor named J. Robinson Werner, and a guy named Bob Crystal had the book reprinted. It's called The Science and Logic of Chiropractic. And all you need to know is called the spillover effect. He draws this picture, and Pasquale one day took all this information, and he, with like 4 pages, drew it out for me, explained everything, and he took him like 15 minutes to do it. Wow. But I still had to go through all that stuff to learn that, to get it to that point. And for those of us who knew Pasquale, then the one thing he said to me was, now you know this stuff? I said, yeah. He goes, now forget it. And the reason why, he's like, when you're serving someone, you're not thinking about these things. But I had to learn all those things to get to the point where I realized I can't be thinking about those things while I'm serving someone. But it's still good to know, because this world is based, how they do things, really based upon a whole false model, which was from Pasteur. He was proven wrong. If you read that book by E.D. Hume, she goes through it. But the one thing for me, once we just start working on those people, you really get, for me, I get guided on what to do. And then you notice all these people's issues go away. But if someone thinks they're going to come in and try and steamroll me with the little science talk, they can't, because I have that background. And once I start saying stuff, they usually shut their mouths, either just leave and never come back, or they're a little more respectful. But I don't need to show that off only if someone runs their mouth. But the good thing about being a chiropractor is it's just really about serving the people. Just do all the work and be humble and serve the people. And then you'll realize we're going through changes where our anatomy and physiology, it sounds strange to say, but it is changing. A lot of things we needed inside of us before, we don't seem to need anymore. And I don't want to get more into that now, but that's really what's going on. That's the spiritual shift. We're in it right now, the spiritual shift. And chiropractic is helping these people do that. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I've got a little insight, and I was getting the Speransky book republished. I got about 150 of them remade, and I sold them all to chiropractors because it's such important for information. And J. Robinson Werner, with 3 other chiropractors, wrote another book called Rational Bacteriology. And they made that book so much more easy to understand. Speransky's very difficult to understand. But J. Robinson Werner's Rational Bacteriology is a free download. You can find that on the internet. And I'm going to do a reading of it and have it on audio and MP3 very soon. And it's called Rational Bacteriology. And Werner's with a W, right? Isn't it J. Robinson Werner?
No, J. Robinson Werner with a V.
V with a V, okay.
And it's C.W. Wyant and a guy named Watkins.
That's exactly right. Watkins was very famous back then too. Now, I just talked about this in our meeting I dragged Mark Johnson to the other day because they had some insights. When we look at a subluxation as happening to us, we're the victim. And as Alan said, very rarely that happens. That's 15% it happens to us. But the subluxation comes from us. And where science hasn't caught up yet is the spirituality of this body. And if I get a subluxation in my T4, just say, that's God or my innate or spirit saying, serve me here. Adjust it like that. That's innate really talking to you. So if we look at the senses, this body says, adjust me here or leave me alone. That's that innate speaking to the chiropractor. And the more skillful we are in that, the more we're able to listen and hear. And it doesn't come from me saying, I got to adjust you there because it says it on a merit chart. But the body is always speaking to us. And that is innate. That's the body's own system. I like to look at that as God actually talking through that body and saying, serve my person here. That is me serving God, serving God's people, and with each adjustment, transforming this earth. So that, for me, is why I do this, because we are working for a heavenly earth, I feel. Each time we're able to listen to one of those subluxations, which Pasquale helped us realize, meaning sub means under, lux is light, ation is the expression of, under the expression of the light. What's the expression of the light? God. So when we're listening to that level of vibration, we're listening to that level of innate spirit from this person, we're transforming things in a much different way than if we're doing it from logic or educated mind. That's my 2 cents. Anybody else?
Just one more quick thing, Haig. A quote from Pasquale. A lot of people are very mechanistic, and they kept calling him a vitalist, and they put him down. And he said people don't realize that the vitalist incorporates the mechanism, but they incorporate it with one thought. There's a reason for all things. And that's really the philosophical things for these things. I mean, we all had to learn people's bones and how they're set up in order to put our hands on someone in the beginning to understand what we're doing. But there's a reason why that person is like that. And it might not, and it could be something they'll never tell us. It just comes to us and we do it. And that's the beauty of it. And for you, Marina, it's really not that hard to learn that stuff. So I don't want J. Robinson Werner in those books. He also, he does a great job. He really does. And if you just read those things, you'll understand it.
And he,
hey, Brian, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because it keeps going on and off on the screen. I don't want to make it sound really, really simple, but love is the highest vibration on the planet. So everything unlike love is what causes disease and subluxation and whatever you want to name it. That's the way I look at it. So if we can love ourselves and adjust people in that pause, that quiet zone, and love them with you, your vibration, the tone will shift. And I'm not saying I'm a master at it, I'm not. But that's what I try to make it as simple as possible. When you approach that person, feel their sense their vibration, see what they're innate and you're innate, and try to just put as much love and amplify it. I used to have a teacher of mine who was an amazing breath worker. She told me that she would find that little crack of love in the person, no matter how messed up they were, how they could be a drug addict, whatever was going on, and find that little crack and amplify that love vibration they have within them. By doing that, it also serves us. So we're actually getting served as we do that. So I like what Haig was saying, and he said it at the meeting. it's really a spiritual frequency that we're on. And chiropractic is a calling. We got called to do this. We're special souls, not to make us build us up on some platform or something, but we are special people doing this, or we wouldn't be called to do this right now. And many of us could be making tons of money doing whatever else you want to do. Not that chiropractic doesn't give you sufficient income, but it's not about the money. I think everybody that's here is not about the money. We're here because we want to get to the bottom of everything. And I think the earth is for the heart chakra and all about love. And the more we can just focus on that love vibration and amplify it within us, and that's where I was lost before. I didn't love myself enough. We got to love ourselves. You really got to love yourself to that level. And Brian and I have spoken about that a lot. Self-love. He reminds me all the time, and thank God he does, because even no matter how much I focus on it, I'll back out of it because it seems selfish to focus that much on yourself. But if you're going to do chiropractic and you want to serve a lot of people, you got to self-love yourself. You got to take care of yourself. You got to feed yourself. You got to take time off. You got to be in love with whoever your family is and try to get that as cohesive as you can, or else you're not going to be able to practice very long. Look how many chiropractors get burned out and quit. It's all about the love. So and I'm not trying to make it sound that simple, but it is kind of simple like that. It's the highest frequency. So why aren't we seeking the highest frequency we can? That's all.
Well, wait, I'm going to add on to that now that
Go
you're
ahead.
talking. So I think it's really cool. I just want to something that I locked into listening to you speak was that if you're focusing on the vibration of love, you're focusing on what's working and what's right and what's beautiful and amazing with people, and you're nowhere near what's wrong with them. And that to me is like, people come to me, do you deal with this problem? Do you deal with that problem? Can you fix this? Can you fix that? And it kind of blows my circuits because I don't think that way. I'm looking for that crack of light, that beam of beauty, and what makes you so special. So I already see you as divine and special and whole, and I just want to help you see more and more and more of that. So to me, focusing on what's right with people, what's awesome, what's working, what's vibrating at a high frequency, what's flowing, the CSF fluid, all this stuff, whatever's working, the more you focus on that, it's like gold.
Tell them what you said about the other things.
I don't remember.
Anybody else? Did you have something else?
Yeah,
Good one. Okay, Stephen, go.
I know that love is what breathes me. I know that love is what we are, and it is the root of all creation. Even a blade of grass is from this intelligent love. But we human beings, the way we're configured, we can we chiropractors in love with the source of life. In the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. I would move it to, in the beginning is love. There's always this vibration of love that is the most powerful vibration on earth, and in my experience, the universe, the one word, universe. So how do you get there? It comes with sincerity, self-honesty, and we as chiropractors understand that our job is to remove the garbage, the subluxation. And what are you left with? Love. When we're no longer living in this fear that we've taken from our culture, from other fearful parents or peers, when we get rid of that and we're abiding in that love, there's no technique that doesn't work with our hands that we can do. I know it from an experience of right now being in that vibration. It's not an emotional thing. Emotions come from love. Everything comes from love. I'm talking about that most powerful love bomb. That's what I have to say. I agree with you.
Okay, anybody else before we wrap it up? Got any input or insights? All right. Yes, Alan, did you say something?
There's so many things that have been said here that are just so wonderful, you know, and one of the things that I think we all get from these chats, if you will, is the love comes amazingly comes through Zoom as we're talking to each other. We're adjusting each other as we talk. I know I always feel better when we hang up the phone, right? I hope everybody else has that same kind of sensation. You know, there are a couple of things that I want to circle back through real quick, which are, you know, somebody said something about focus, and you get what you focus on, which is so many different people talk about that, and that's the same thing we're talking about here. You have to focus on what you want, and then you focus on what you focus on is what you get. You focus on positive, not the negative. You focus on the good. The serving others is serving ourselves. It's always a circle. It's always a circle. As you give, you receive, and not because you're looking to receive, but because as you give, you do receive. You get as you give. Which is what we're doing on these calls. We're giving to each other, and we all get something out of it. There's I was going to say some other things, but I want to stay on that topic rather than go back to some other things. So we'll just leave it there. Thank you for the chance to speak tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan. And
And you
thanks,
know what?
everybody.
One
Go ahead,
thing,
Steve.
love can't get COVID, and whether Trump gets in or doesn't get in, it doesn't matter to love. That's all I have to say.
You know, that is important. And, you know, where we are in this journey, and this call, I feel people are the 1%, you know, from Brazil to Mexico, all across this country, Europe. You know, we have people on this from all over the world, chiropractors, and really being the 1%. And a lot of people know about this. A lot of people say they're going to get on, but the people that show up and you're expressing yourself, we've done a lot of work over the past 7 months or whatever we've been doing, 8 months. And it has been intense and really, like, you know, Sura had me realize for myself, I learned more about who I am from this, and especially as a server, as a chiropractor. One last, does anybody have anything else they want to express before we end tonight?
Real quick, you know, I just think about all people need to know is that they're loved. And when they really sense that, you know, they just change. And for me, I don't think about what's wrong with their person, or I don't think about what's right with the person. The hardest thing I ever had to do was just be blank and get in that pause and just let it flow through me, and whatever's going to, and that person will take it and do with it what they want. And I love them, whatever they do with it. So all people need to know is that they're loved. Thanks.
You know, that's funny. That's what.
Brian to clarify something.
Oh, hey, can you guys hear us? Okay. So, Brian, you were saying something about God puts the subluxation there for you to find it, to liberate. I thought it was a beautiful thread. Could you speak to that again for like another minute or two?
I think Haig said that. I didn't say that.
That was Haig.
Ah.
Yeah, we went through it. I have it, it's recorded, but what we're talked about really is a subluxation is not, if it's happening to us, you know, we're the victim, but a subluxation comes from us. It's coming through us. And sub meaning under, lux is light, ation is the expression of. So under the expression of the light, which is God. So that's God communicating through the people, giving us the information to serve me here. So it's a spiritual code from God. That's what we're getting. So the subluxation, once we get out of this victimhood in chiropractic, we're all going to make a giant shift. So, you know, we can keep the people as victims as we are as victim as chiropractors. But we're talking about transformational work here. Yeah.
Can I add something?
Yes, sir.
When we see physical problems or ailments, what people come in with symptoms or whatever, love brings up everything unlike itself for the purpose of healing. So when you see all that ugly stuff, don't get into it. That's coming up to get out of the body. It's ugly for a reason. Love's not ugly. So if you just see all that, or people's pain, or their, you have to be compassionate. Be compassionate with it. Listen to what they have to say, but find out the best way that you can serve them through the love in your hands. That's all.
Yeah,
All right,
bro.
anybody else?
Wash.
Was that Stephen?
It's all coming out in the wash.
All right, everybody. You know, I love you. Subluxation, the light is shining bright on you, and everyone's shining brighter. I can see everyone's faces brighter through this. And one last chance. Anybody have anything else for tonight? Fernando, let's connect really soon, okay?
Greg, if you're going to go towards Stevenson, give us a hint of where we might want to look to be part of the discussion.
Stephen said page 71. I'm thinking maybe the normal and complete cycle. But give me a few days and we'll go look through that, and we'll start and start through Stevenson's. And Marina, in Brazil, I was invited to start working with some Brazilian groups and working on Stevenson's and translating Stevens into Portuguese. So that's the other reason I'm sort of switching, because we're going to be doing some more stuff with Brazil, and then I'll also have more insights with you guys helping guide me through the Brazilians working with our philosophy. Okay. And I'll keep you up to date on that. And Mexico, I think we should also do more of that with Mexico. And Ruben Ruben, what's his last name? We're going to start working on that too. So we might as well do it in Portuguese and Spanish, okay, with Stevenson's. All right.
Brian speaks great Spanish, by the way.
What's that?
Brian speaks great Spanish, by the way.
Oh, we know that. We do know that. I love and appreciate you all. I've grown from this. I am a better chiropractor in person from it, and I love you all. And I feel the love coming through here. Anything else? Have a wonderful night.
Namaste.
And I'll see you next week. Okay?
Good night.
Chiropractic.
Chiropractic. Same code, same